Hello and welcome to the channel. I've been so excited to get out here finally after 3 weeks since the last video. It's been overcast, so I haven't been able to get any astro photography shots, and I've had a couple of days of being crook as well. It isn't a clear night tonight. You might be able to see it's actually full moon. It is still cloudy, but we've had a couple of breaks in the clouds to be able to get a couple of astro shots. I've been running around like a madman trying to get some shots before the moon fully rose and or became exposed through the cloud. It is still somewhat hidden by some clouds right now. I'm going to break into the infield video here briefly just to explain that a few days later I did get some clear skies and got some great shots of the Milky Way. Still very red. You'll hear me describe many times throughout the video that the shots are yellow. In fact, they're not yellow. I don't know what I was thinking at the time when I was recording the infield video. They're clearly red. You'll see some text where I'm correcting myself. But yeah, if you want to scrub through towards the end to see the final images, by all means do so. The infield videos describing a bit of the history of the location where I've taken these in Memorial Park at Woodford, but also describing the 3 different compositions I took and some of the benefits of actually shooting in RAW. So yeah, by all means stick around, watch the video. Hopefully you'll get some inspiration on capturing some different things in the foreground. Even if you live in suburbia where there is a lot of light pollution, go and find yourself a spot where there is a little less light pollution. Using some software like Darktable, you can correct that in post, and you'll see some examples of that towards the end of the video. So alrighty, let's get back to the infield video. Approximately 4 weeks ago, before the last video, I did get one composition here. This is at Woodford in the Blue Mountains. It's close by the pedestrian bridge that goes over the railway line. Just over here on the right is where there's an Anzac memorial, and a little further down there's a little old picnic pavilion with a couple of seats and another composition that I wanted to get, which was shooting up the stairs here into the Milky Way. I don't think that's been successful because too much cloud, but the whole purpose of tonight was to today's video was to show you the importance of shooting in RAW and how dramatically different your software like Darktable can help you manipulate white balance. There's a lot of ambient light here from the highway. The highway is approximately 50 meters in a straight line, so a lot of ambient light there. I'll take you down and show you those 3 compositions shortly, just to give you an idea of what it was like. But yes, a lot of ambient light coming from the highway, making the Anzac Memorial building quite yellow, the trees very yellow and warm, and the same with the other couple of compositions. So I'm really keen to get back to the office and process tonight's video. About 3-4 weeks ago, as I said, I did get my initial composition. I've been planning this video for a while, just haven't been in a situation to be able to get out and get the images because of the night sky, and because I was suffering with a bit of the lurgy there for a few days as well. So let's take you down and show you those. This, where I am standing, is on the pedestrian bridge, as I mentioned. Just about got blown away by a goods train coming up the mountain before, with 4 engines towing, looked like probably some empty carriages, coal carriages back up the mountain. And that was a bit of an interesting scenario. This bridge is quite low, so the exhaust stacks, it was quite warm as the goods train went past. So interesting night. But let's go and show you Okay, so this is coming up towards, there's a couple of benches here. There's a flagpole here. A lot of rocky areas here. As you can possibly see, this is a gorgeous old sandstone Anzac Memorial for World War I. And I know that we still hold on Anzac Day, the 25th of April, the Woodford Rural Fire Brigade just up the road and other locals do still have an Anzac service here, dawn service. There's a lot of rocks. There's a path here that goes down to and joins the highway. A lot of sandstone here. Some gorgeous trees. So apparently this location was originally just about 20 or 30 metres down where the original Woodford station was, and it got moved later to a more suitable location. In fact, across the road here, or just up the road a little bit, is the Woodford Academy, a famous old building. Darwin came through. Okay, so this was the third composition shooting up into the Milky Way. At this time of year in August in Australia, the Milky Way is quite vertical this early in the night. It's only about 8:30, quarter to 9 at night at the moment. As mentioned before, it was a full moon just yesterday, and you probably can't see any stars at all because it has become quite cloudy. I don't think I actually got any Milky Way in the shots I took before, but maybe for another night this would probably be quite a good composition, I'd reckon. I didn't shoot, but I probably will next time round in portrait mode instead of landscape, capture a couple of shots in a panoramic form, in a vertical panorama, to get the Milky Way above us. So yeah, don't know how successful that would have been tonight. Pretty sure lots of cloud, but as mentioned, the intent was to demonstrate to you how powerful shooting in RAW can be when you need to overcome white balance and I guess difficult lighting scenarios. This is, while the Blue Mountains is quite dark, in and around suburbia or the villages here, there is a bit of lighting, not so much like suburbia in the larger city areas like Sydney, which is just beyond the Blue Mountains here. But if you do take the time to, you know, get yourself out to maybe 10 or 15 minutes out of the city, you would be surprised how well you can find locations that are quite dark. And as I mentioned, with the right software and shooting in RAW, you can actually help to improve the lighting, which can be really problematic in suburban areas, even on the fringes. Yeah, so you can see looking down there towards the highway, cars going past. And here is it's like an old picnic building. Gorgeous old tree here. So different times of the year, this is probably quite a magic spot to get some other astro photography shots when the Milky Way is in a different spot within the sky. So yeah, you can see there is a lot of ambient light here, which can make it really challenging, and that's where shooting in RAW can help to make a really big difference when you want to play with your images in post. Again, lots of rocks here, gorgeous location. So yes, down that way there's a few old ruins of where the old station quarters and some other buildings were. There's some signage down there that describes those. If you're ever up this way, by all means call in. There's a little spot you can get just off the highway to park. Come up, have a look at the location, and learn a bit of the history of Woodford. Nice little park, nice little stop. Okay, so this was the other composition. A bit precarious here with a few rocks and a bit of a shelf there. But this was the other composition. I shot several shots in portrait, so I'll stack them later. A lot of cloud in the sky right now. You might be able to see one star up there, but earlier on there was a little bit less cloud. I did manage to get a little bit of Milky Way in, so we'll see how those go. Edited for the excessive warm yellow images because of the ambient light here over towards the highway. A few lights on the highway itself for street lighting, and then I'd managed to stack I managed to take a number of other images which I will stack to see what they're like, to bring in the Milky Way and this gorgeous old little kind of picnic shed with a couple of benches in there. I did also put a light in there at one point, so we'll see how that goes. That's obviously going to make the inside a little bit brighter, and it might help to also balance out some of that excessive ambient lighting, yellowy look from the ambient lights of the highway. Quite noisy here right now. Often some trucks come up and down here as they're crossing the mountain or coming back across from the mountain to go out to the west, or as they're coming back to go east from the west. Alrighty, so that was today's composition. This was the third composition. There's a couple of stars coming out there, but I don't think you'll see them as the cloud's clearing a little bit. Don't think you'll see them in the video. But yeah, let's go and look at those images in post and see what we can come up with in Darktable. Okay, so back in the office, let's just talk about these briefly before showing you the images in full screen. So you can see the Anzac Pavilion. The initial shots taken, you can see, are very red. I suppose there is a bit of yellow. It's quite overexposed because there's just so much light coming from the road. Now I could have focus stacked, I could have taken multiple images here with different exposures, but I didn't. These are all just single images to give you an indication of, you know, how much light pollution can have an impact, but also what, you know, bringing them into taking them in raw and bringing them into other software. So top left, initial straight off camera, very red. Same with the one on the top right. Not quite as longer exposure. So these are approximately a 15-second ISO 2000 on the Viltrox 1.8 millimeter. Sorry, f1.8 lens, 16 millimeter, and the Nikon Z6 II, as most of my Astro Photography shots are taken. The one on the right is a slightly shorter exposure, that therefore not quite so overexposed on the building, but still quite washed out here, bottom left. And so, sorry, bottom left of the actual top right image, that is, on the Anzac Memorial itself. Excuse me. So bottom left image, you can see I've edited this one. It is still somewhat washed out on the building front itself. But you can see the dramatic difference the Darktable has made to the white balance. The actual foliage now looks green. So yeah, it makes a big difference. Now the one on the right is a multi-stack. There's 4 stacked images. I haven't spent a lot of time editing this particular one. Haven't done a great job of actually blending the background darker sky with trying to bring out the Milky Way. But yeah, it just gives you an idea. So if I actually just show you that one on full screen briefly, where's that gone? It's this one. Let's just move me over here. So yeah, so you can see it's not too bad. It's like I said, it's a pretty quick and dirty edit, but again, the white balance has made a massive difference to the trees. They actually look like they're green now, not red. And you can see on the right, it's a very big image because it's a multi-stack. But it was 2000 ISO, Viltrox f1.8 16mm lens. These are all taken at 1.8 and 15-second exposure. So I'll show this in full screen a bit later, but I just wanted to give you an idea of the settings there. So, okay, let's move to the next one. Okay, so this is the next composition. It was all shooting up of the stairs. Now you would have seen in the video, if you had watched the whole video, the night that I took the infield video, it was very overcast, and I did display some images during the video of the shots I took then. Quite cloudy. This is clearly a different night and dramatically different, but again, you can see these are red, not yellow. These are straight off camera, so pretty much all these images are very similar. I have just moved the camera slightly to get different amount of the Milky Way in, and you can see that's also brought in some of the power lines. So I will show you the final image after edit in a full screen mode towards the end. I didn't spend a lot of time worrying about too much about star tracking, etc. These are actually taken at 25 seconds. Let me just show you that particular one. It's this one. So you can see 25-second f1.8. Again, it's the Viltrox 16mm. These were only ISO 1600. But yeah, I didn't worry about star trailing. At 25 seconds there is a bit of star trailing. Of course, if you're going to pixel peep, I wasn't concerned about that here. So yeah, that's composition number 2, or possibly 3 as I've described it in the infield video. Okay, let's move to the next one, and that is the picnic pavilion. Okay, now these are the ones I'm quite pleased with, but you can still see they are really red. This is the one where I mentioned I've actually added the light. I didn't really use this image, to be honest, with the light inside the little picnic shelter. But this is that original night where there is some cloud. You can see I did get a little bit of opportunity to grab some cloud. It did make for an interesting edit when I stacked a few of these together, which I'll show you at the end of the video. Now, I did spend more time. I did some odd things with this edit. I thought I'd experiment a little. I'll show those to you in full screen a bit later. Yeah, you can see the settings on the camera here. 15 seconds. This one's at ISO 800. Still the Viltrox 16mm 1.8 on the Z6 II. The white balance here, I didn't play a lot. I didn't play with any of that white balance that is on any of these within the camera. They're all shot at what I usually use as a standard up here in the Blue Mountains, which is 4800. Sometimes it's good to make it larger than that, so 5800 or even bigger, 6800, when there's a bit of light pollution and you're looking for something a bit kind of browner in the sky, rather than rather than the real blue look here, which you can change in post as well. So yeah, that's one of those images. Here's another one. You can see the ISO here is at 1600. There's a bit more color in the sky here, given that I've changed the ISO to be 1600. Still a 15-second exposure, but you can see the clouds really coming over here. Still a lot of red from the street ambient lighting, and you can see it's quite windy this day too. The trees are blurry. Okay, let's look at the next one. So the next one along, taken on a different night. Still 1600, still all of the same settings essentially, much clearer sky, still a bit windy, but I've stacked a few of these together. They look great. Various edits, again I'll show you those. Pretty happy with a couple of them. Just one more before we get into the final images. So this one here I shot at ISO 3200, so you can see the sky's different. Still 15-second exposure, lots of wind, blurry trees and foliage, but that does make it interesting when they're stacked together. Okay, let's show you the full images now, full screen, and the edits. By all means, hopefully this has been somewhat inspirational or given you some ideas to do things differently yourself. Again, you can see the benefits of shooting in RAW. You'll get to see those shortly. You did see a bit of a snippet of those with the pavilion, and how different, shooting in RAW and using some great software like Darktable can really bring the difficult lighting conditions back to a more real life looking color range. Okay, let's get into it and show you the final images and edits.